In this video, I'm going to explain a simple technique for scraping websites from within the browser. It's a technique that I find useful, and I think many other people will find it useful too. So in this tutorial, I recommend using Firefox for reasons that you'll see shortly. You can download Firefox Developer Edition or the regular Firefox, it doesn't matter. After you have Firefox, go to search for a list of cat breeds. And the site we're looking for here is Wikipedia, so click that link. And you'll end up on a page that has a list of cat breeds here. Now, let's say we want to extract the names of the cat breeds. It's hard for us to copy and paste it because it's a table. And we could also write a normal scraper for it, but that's kind of annoying. But there's actually a way to do this right in the browser. So right click on the table cell that contains the name of the cat breed and choose Inspect Element. Now in Firefox, you're probably going to see something that looks like, probably something that looks like this. And the reason I want to use Firefox is because if you click this button on the right side, you got a JavaScript editor here, and that makes it really easy to write interactive JavaScript that scrapes the page. So let's take a look at the HTML because we're going to use a lot of query selectors to get the content. This selector on the left side, just click that. Click on the element that you want to scrape and take a look at the HTML. So some of this is predictable. We have a table, table head, table body, table row. Then the element that we actually want here is a table head, which is inside of the row, and it has a scope of row. And if we take a look inside, we can see there's a link with the text with the name of the cat breed, and then a reference, which is that 5 up here. So let's see if we can get to the table and, where is it, th scope row. So go back to the console tab, and let's say var table equals document dot query selector, and we'll grab the table like that. I'm using var in this tutorial because if you use const or let, it will be harder. You'll have to reload the page every time. But if you use var, you won't have to reload the page because you can declare var multiple times, but you can't declare let or const multiple times. So to execute this code, you can either click run here or just hit Control Enter. When I run that code, it sends it over to the right side. And variable assignment in JavaScript returns undefined, so we can't see what it is until we type table over here. Run the code again, and now you can see this is what the table is. And hovering over it will highlight it on the page. Let's scroll down a little bit and see if it's the correct table. So here we have inner text. Inside the inner text we can see Abyssinian here, and that's this text. We can also see, let's see, where's another one? American bobtail, American ringtail, and these are other ones. American bobtail, American ringtail. So now we know we have the correct table. Now, inside this table, now we have a table. We want to select. We're going to select multiple things this time, so we use query selector all. And the thing we want to select is th scope row. Th scope equals row. So we just type that in here. Th scope equals row, just like that. Let's see what we get back if we run that. We get a node list with 101 elements in it. Let's open that up. So each item here has, we can see some of the familiar text here, Abyssinian cat, inner HTML, inner text. Here we have Abyssinian 5. If we take a look, Abyssinian 5 is the inner text that we're looking for. So, but what is a node list? We want to find out what is a node list. If you're not familiar, just open up a new tab, type node list into search, look for the MDN link. So a node list is a collection of nodes, usually returned by properties such as node, child nodes, and methods such as document.querySelectorAll. If you look at our code, we have querySelectorAll, and we got back a node list. So that makes sense so far. Then the important part is it says, although node list is not an array, it is possible to iterate over it with for each. It can also be converted to a real array using array.from. If we scroll down the page a little bit, there's a section called methods, and this shows you what you can do with a node list. So we can do .item, .entries, .foreach, .keys, and .values. But there's no .map, there's just .foreach. And the difference between .map and .foreach is important. I'll quickly mention it just so if you're not familiar with it, you will be in a minute. So variable array equals 1, 2, 3. Now let's just take a look at the array. Array of 3 items, 1, 2, 3. If we do array.foreach and we say the item and we make a function that does item plus 2, you can see that it returns undefined. So this expression is undefined. Now if I change this to map, you can see that it returned an array. So when you have an array and you want to return an array, use map. If you have an array and you want to do something to each item without returning anything, then you use for each. So the one we want here is map. And if we look at node list again, node list doesn't have map. But we can convert it into a real array using array.from. So let's go back and take a look at this code again. We have a node list. Let's say var the table headers. We'll just call it table headers, THs. And we will print them out. We have the node list. We can turn it into an array with array.from. And now we have the same thing, but it's an array. There's another way to do this with a spread operator. And the spread operator looks like this. And we can just do THs like this. And this will do the exact same thing as array.from. So we have the same result here. So in this tutorial, I'm going to use spread operator. Let's delete array from. Now that we have a real array here, we can do map on it. And we can say every th we want to return th.innerText. So now you can see we have a list of cat names, but it's not quite finished because there's still some garbage in the text. Like, we don't care that it has a 5 or a 7. Let's strip out that. So here we'll do dot replace, and we'll put a regular expression here. We will say we want to find a bracket open and closing bracket, and in the middle, basically any character if there's one or more characters in the middle. So the backslash opening bracket matches this. The dot matches any character. The plus means at least one or more of them. And then the backslash closing thing means match this closing brace. And the thing we want to replace it with is a blank empty string. Let's run that again. Now you can see we have a list. Looks pretty good. It's an array of cat breed names. But there's one more problem. We have line breaks in the middle. So we want to replace those also. And basically here we can just do this, replace every line break with empty string. And just to make sure that we get all the line breaks, let's make this global. We'll put a G here. First I'll show you what it does without the G. Let's run that. Let's skim through. We can see one mistake already. It says or. We want to replace the new lines with an empty space. So let's try that, running that again. Take a look. Quickly skim through the text, make sure it looks good. I think we may find one error. Okay, here it is. So there's still new lines in there. Here's another one. And what we can do there is just put a G here to make it global, and that means replace every one on the line instead of just the first one it sees. Let's run that again. And we'll skim through the output and make sure it looks okay. Everything looks good. We have 101 cat breed names. But how do we get it out of here? It's still pretty ugly. And the answer to that is we can call cat names. And then we can say it's an array. We want to join the array into a string. So we can say var output equals cat names dot join. And let's make HTML here. So we'll just join the output, the array with breaks. Let's see what that looks like. Cat names. Okay, so now we have HTML, a cat name, an HTML break, a cat name, HTML break. Now the way to get that into a nice list is just to print that on the page. So let's do, this is the page here. We can say document.body, that's the page. We'll say the inner HTML equals this HTML that we just made here. Now when I run this code, we have a list of all the cat names. Select all, copy. Let's open up a terminal, or open up your text editor, whatever kind of editor you use. Let's just make a random file name. And you can see here, looks good. This technique can be used on any website. By the way, if you want to get the page back, just reload like this. And it should work. And you can write any JavaScript here. It works with anything. You could scrape the name and the cat image and return that as JSON, print that to the page. For example, instead of returning this, we could say var cat name equals this, and we could say return an object that says name and cat name. Now before we print it to the page, let's take a look. So we'll say cat names. We still have an array of 101 things, but now we have JavaScript object for each cat. So we could write a little more code, grab the image if we wanted, put it in there. So to get that onto the page, we need to turn it into JSON. So the difference between an object and JSON is an object can be manipulated with JavaScript, and JSON is just a string. So we want to print it to the page as a string. So let's say json.stringify cat names. And we want to print it, so we'll do null and put 4 spaces, pretty print. Let's see what that looks like in the console. You can see here it's printing it out, but with backslashes. So the next step is to print it on the HTML page itself. So let's say the output is, this time we'll make pre element, and we'll drop, we'll say this is the J is the JSON here. We'll just put J inside of those tags like this. Let's print that out in the console. Oops, sorry, I have to print it like that. You can see that still works, but now it's HTML that's wrapped with pre. And all we need to do now is just document body inner HTML equals that output. Run it one more time. And now we have our JSON here. Copy that. Let's just go like this, paste it in, and you can see we have pretty printed JSON. That's basically it. If you have questions, leave a comment in the comments below, and I'll try to answer them. Hope that it helps.